Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Acharya Asutra Sat Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Channa Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Anand Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की, श्री श्री राधे कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की, वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, नवदीप धाम की, श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की, यमुना माई की, श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastai Bhutle, Srimate Bhir Krishna Goswami Niti Namne, Namo Hamsa Nikashaya, Prabhupada Priyate, Sudhita Shuddhi Nishthavem Tasya Vakya Nivadine. Good morning and Hare Krishna to everyone. Welcome to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class at Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Temple in North Sydney, Australia. Welcome to our Mayapur online TV viewers and ISKCON Sydney YouTube as well as ISKCON Facebook, on ISKCON Facebook page. This morning we are going to be listening and reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9. Chapter 9 is titled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. And the text we are reading this morning is text 34. Yes? So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Naruttamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Nana karma vitanena prajabhavi sishrikshataha prajabhavi sishrikshataha natma vasidati ashmimste natma vasasidati ashmimste Varshiyan mad anugraha Nana karma vitanena Prajabhavi sishrikshataha Natma vasidati ashmimste Varshiyan mad anugraha Nana karma vitanena Prajabhavi shishrikshataha Natma vasidati ashmimste Varshiyan mad anugraha. Nana karma vitanena Prajabhavihi sishrikshataha Natma vasidati asminste Vashyan mad anugraha Nana karma vitanena Prajabhavi sishrikshataha Natma vasidati asminste Varshiyan mad anugraha Nana karma vitanena Prajabhavi sishrikshataha Natma vasasati asminste Varshiyan mad anugraha Nana karma vitanena Prajabhavi sishrikshataha Natma vasidati asminste Varshiyan mad anugraha. Okay, so the words and the meanings. Nana karma, varieties of service. Vitanena, by expansion of. Prajaha, population. Bhavi, innumerable. Sishrikshataha, desiring to increase. Na, never. Atma, self. Avashidati, will be bereaved. Ashmin, in the matter. Te, of you. Varshiyan, always increasing. Mat, my. Anugraha, causeless mercy. So the translation and the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so translation. Since you have desired to increase the population innumerably and expand your varieties of service, you shall never be deprived in this matter, because my causeless mercy upon you will always increase for all time. So we can all repeat. Since you have desired to increase the population innumerably and expand your varieties of service, you shall never be deprived in this matter, because my causeless mercy upon you will always increase for all time. Wow. Wouldn't it be nice for Krishna to say to you that my causeless mercy will increase every day for all time? Always. Okay, so the purport. A pure devotee of the Lord, being cognizant of the facts of the particular time, object and circumstances, always desires to expand the number of devotees of the Lord in various ways. So this is what we are all about anyway. We want to increase the number of devotees. So a pure devotee always desires to expand the number of devotees in Lord in various ways. Such expansions of transcendental service may appear to be material to the materialists, but factually they are expansions of the causeless mercy of the Lord towards the devotee. Plans for such activities may appear to be material activities, but they are different in potency, being engaged in the satisfaction of the transcendental senses of the Supreme. So that was a short purport. We'll do a little bit of Mangal Charan. So, Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Ham Shri Gurum Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनीश्वरी वृषभान सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So, as always, all the Srimad Bhagavatam topics are, all of them are very interesting. This is particularly interesting also. Here, Lord Krishna himself is discussing the services of Lord Brahma. So, we are all struggling devotees, and we all have some particular service ourselves. So, at one stage or other, somebody is going to come up, maybe the temple president, maybe the head pujari, maybe someone in the temple will come and discuss with you your services, whether you are initiated or not. So here, even Lord Brahma at his level is not spared. His services are being discussed by none other than Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the interesting part in this one, because I was, obviously I would do a little bit of pre-reading of this particular shlok and then deliberate on it and meditate. So when I was deliberating on this shlok, I was thinking, Lord Krishna wants Lord Brahma to do some service, but it's not just that, it is Lord Brahma himself is aspiring for service. So it's a two-way street. One wants service and the other one wants the service. Lord Brahma, and his service is a very interesting one. He says he wants to increase the population. In other words, he wants to be the Prajapati. Prajapati, it means the lord of the Prajas. And Praja means those who are born, to be born. Those who are born. And he wants to be the lord of those who are born. So he has this desire to increase the population. And it's Lord Krishna's desire also that he must increase the population. So that kind of like clicked to me. How interesting, and it filters down to us also, that in that we have a certain desire to service Lord Krishna or serve Lord Krishna in a certain way. Like one devotee particularly might have a burning desire to distribute books. It's internal. And Lord Krishna, it means that Lord Krishna also wants the devotee to do the same thing. Isn't it strange? Everyone has different desires. Like there was one Mataji, she just loved to she wanted to cook for Krishna. And the funny thing was that she was a disabled person. She was a little bit handicapped. And she had all her mobile movements. And I come from Krishna Kaliya temple originally, so I'm talking about a devotee over there. She happens to be my god sister. She did get initiation, but the Matajis there's some very strict Tamal Krishna Maharaj disciples there, from whom we get very strict, including me, strict, let's say, instructions and guidance and mentors, and we get training. So they were a little bit tough with her on the kitchen, and they wouldn't let her in the kitchen, although she was initiated. So what she used to do every day, I wasn't planning to actually give this in the class. It just came out, popped. I actually prepared for something else, but now I have to talk about her. She used to go to the kitchen after all the Matajis had cleaned up and everything, and she'd go and look at the spoons and the knives and the fork, and she would cry over the knife and fork. They're not letting me in because I'm handicapped. She's a bit slow. And she'd go away, and she came and told me this story herself. So I know, and because she's my god sister, I kind of felt compassion also. I said, oh, poor thing. She would go every day and do that, cry over the spoons and come back. She never told anybody. I think if she had told those Matajis, they might have let her in. Anyway, now it's so progressive. She cooks everywhere. She cooks in all the temples in Fiji. She was able to overcome her challenges, whatever challenges there were, by the mercy of Srimati Radharani, who is obviously the boss of the kitchen. So the service that we desire The whole point is that we must never give up the aspiration for service, because there is success in that. Now, here Lord Brahma is also desiring. I mean, it applies to all of us actually. Whatever service we want to do. When I mentioned this in my class the last Monday also. As soon as I met my spiritual master, I wasn't initiated and I was not really chanting. He asked me, "Are you chanting?" And I said, "Yes, I chant all the time." He said, "All the time?" "Yeah, in my heart I chant all the time." He said, "That's not chanting. Are you chanting on your beads?" So I wasn't chanting on my beads. So that means that I wasn't really a devotee, actually, like a full-fledged devotee. And I had just like maybe about a year that I was vegetarian. So a year ago I was eating meat. So anyway, so I wasn't really a devotee. But first meeting, Gurudev said to me, "Maybe you can preach." That was weird. I thought, what do I know about Hare Krishna philosophy? What do I know about books, his books? I hadn't even read. Oh, actually, I had read one book. It was Coming Back. Srila Prabhupada's book, Coming Back. And it was about, the picture had this person going in the door and coming out on the other door. And so I was thinking reincarnation. I'm going to read about reincarnation. But there was nothing. There was a little bit about reincarnation, but there's a lot of philosophy about that. That's all I knew. That was 20 plus years ago. It turned out that I'm out of all the services, I'm required to preach to people or talk to people about Krishna philosophy. So Gurudev knew straight away what my particular area of service could be, possibly. There is one Mataji who cooks in New Zealand, and Gurudev says to her, she's a great cook. Tamal Krishna Mataji, she's a fantastic cook. She cooks, she's only small, she cooks up like a storm for hundreds and hundreds of people. He tells her, "You're going to cook for Srimati Radharani after this, end of this life." This Mataji never married, and she's retiring now. She served in the kitchen, Radha Giridhari temple, all her life. So that's her particular seva. So we all have a particular service, whatever the service. And Gurudev says, actually, all services must be respected, from the pot washer of the temple to whoever is doing whatever. It's all of them. All of the services. Why? Because Krishna has sanctioned it. And Krishna, to Krishna, every service is dear. Whether it is pot washing or it's sweeping or book distribution. I personally respect the book distributors a lot, because that is the frontline soldiers and they are helping Srila Prabhupada in his first desire, because that was Srila Prabhupada's instruction from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also. He was taking a walk around Radhakund with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and his spiritual master told him, and actually Srila Prabhupada only met his own spiritual master only a few times, not very many times. He was told, if you have any money, if you ever have any money, distribute books, print books. And so whoever is doing that service is possibly, in my personal view, is front line and highly respected, although all services are to be respected. So coming back to my original intent of this particular shlok, I was going to talk about praja, population. Now, Brahma's service obviously is to increase the population. At this time, there was no one. There was only Lord Brahma there. And he was trying, let's have some more people, some more living entities. So, in that regard, he is praying to Lord Krishna to empower him so that he may do these things, so to do these services. And this is what the point here is, that if we want to do this service, whatever service it is, we have to pray to Lord Krishna or our spiritual master for empowerment. Otherwise, we can't do it. Lord Brahma is in his status, in his high position, even he required empowering. So whatever it is, that whatever service we are doing, we have to understand it is not coming from us, it is empowered. So very recently I had this discussion with another devotee, and they were saying, you are doing this particular service. And I said, I don't think I'm doing it. And that was the time it clicked to me, the realization, because we are told in classes, right, you are not the doer. And we have to know this, we are not the doer. And when this particular topic came up for discussion, I realized that, no, actually I'm not doing this. Because the books that were given to me that I'm reading, it's given by my spiritual master on my iPad, and I read that. So it has been given to me by someone. And basically I'm just repeating their message. It's not even coming from me. So I don't think I'm the doer. I couldn't fully realize that. So this is what we need to understand, that we are followers of Srila Prabhupada and we are basically spreading his message. So coming back to Praja, Krishna is actually the original Prajapati, right? What's that shlok? Aham bijam prada pitam, right? Bhagavad Gita 14.4. He is the original father, the giver of the seed. And what he does, how does he do that? How does he give the seed? He just at the beginning of creation, he just glances at the material energy, Durga. He just glances. And in his glance, Durga is impregnated with all the living entities. And that glance, that's known as Shambhu. Shambhu is, as you know, is Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva consorts with Durga. Even Lord Krishna doesn't consort with the, right? He doesn't consort with the material energy. All he does is looks at it with his eyes. And that glance is Shambhu, is Lord Shiva, which impregnates Durga Devi with all the living entities. That's what Lord Krishna's position is. But originally he is the Prajapati. He is the creator. He is the seed-giving father. And so what does that tell us? When he is empowering that Prajapati propensity to Lord Brahma. And how does that apply to us? Our service, whatever that might be, whether it is to clean the floors, or whether it is to sing a kirtan, or cook, or give a class, or wash the pots, it actually comes down to us from a powerhouse. And in that sense, when Gurudev was explaining in his class, he said, the powerhouse is there, it's just like a switch. You might be a tiny little switch, but when you plug that into the switch, you have got the entire powerhouse behind you. You might be a tiny little switch. So that is what we are. We are these tiny little switches which are connected to our spiritual master. And then his master, his spiritual master. So we've got the entire powerhouse behind us, even though we might be a tiny. And in that regard, there is an opposite explanation to that too. If we do not plug in, or if we do not connect to the spiritual master, then we are practically useless, even though we have so many abilities. So in other words, that connection is important in order to be empowered. So we need to be connected. We need to have that empowerment. This is what Lord Brahma has been doing. He is asking, and in further, I think, further when we read this particular chapter, we'll find that Lord Brahma actually does more further austerities and penances in order to be empowered to do the procreation. So Krishna here, he is also doing that, and he can do anything with his all parts of his body. I mean, with his glance, he impregnates. I mean, there's another example of what he does when he comes in the form of Varaha, and he's picking up the Bhumi Devi with the tusks, right, as a bow. He's in a bow form. Bow is like a pig, we all know, and he's got these tusks. He lifts the tusks, planet Earth, Mother Earth, and lifts her out, and in that process, he impregnates her, and they have a son, just with his tusks. In other words, Lord Krishna can do anything with any part. He can actually eat with his eyes. He can hear with his eyes. He can feel with his tongue. He's interchangeable. What's that? That Brahma Samhita, there's a shlok there. Shakalendriya Vrittivanti, that's the one. His senses are very good. His senses are interchangeable. He can do anything. So there was in this regard, I mean, he sometimes eats with his eyes. With the Bhumi Devi, he had impregnated her with his eyes. There was another story that I'm just thinking. Anyway, we will come to that a bit later. There was a very nice story I had meditated upon. Oh, actually, sometimes he really does eat. That was the other side of it. Sometimes he really does eat. Like we can go up to the altar and ask him to eat. He might clean up the plate. He might, if we are lucky. But he doesn't do that, obviously. He leaves some behind so that we will get hungry. We need some food to eat also. So prasadam to eat. So, but there was this instance in the Chaitanya Charitamrita story. There's Raghunandan. He's a little boy and he's the son of Mukunda. Mukunda had entrusted the deities to Raghunandan to do the offering on the plates. And what did Raghunandan do? Does anybody know this story? What did he do? He went and offered that plate, he's a little boy, to Krishna, and in his little boy's mind, it was Krishna must eat it. So he's insisting, get out of the altar and eat this. This plate is still full. Why haven't you eaten this prasad? Eat this. So he insisted, and he insisted very strongly, to the point that Lord Krishna himself had to come out of the altar and eat that and clean the plate. The father Mukunda came and said, where's the prasad? Oh, what did you do? My dear son, did you offer the prasad? It looks like you didn't offer it. He said, no, Krishna ate it. And the father didn't believe him. So the next day, I think the father observed. He said, okay, offer it now. And that boy stood there and said, Krishna ate it, otherwise I'll beat you. I think he was there with beat you with a stick if you don't eat it. Because my father told me you should eat it, so you should eat it. Anyway, Krishna came down and ate it. So then the father admitted that my son is a higher devotee, greater devotee than me. So these are the senses of Lord Krishna that we're talking about. So including the praja. So he can actually do anything. And with this Bhumi Devi, he had a son, Bomasur. And in fact, in the beginning, Bomasur was a very, very good boy. And very pious and very nice. And Lord Krishna made him the king. And then he got bad association. This is the thing that we need to find our association very, very, very carefully. What happened? He became friends with King Vena. And King Vena was a very cruel, nasty, rakshas, demonic kind of a king. As a child, King Vena used to play with his friends and then kill them. That was his favorite pastime. He used to kill his friend. Imagine, your son, your children are playing with each other and say, okay, I think I'll kill this one today. I'll kill the other one. So it was very cruel and very mean. And so Boma, his name was Boma, started associating with King Vena and became Bomasur. He became a demon after that. So Lord Krishna had to kill his own son because he did very many atrocious things, abominable things. And then he kidnapped princesses also for no apparent reason. So Lord Krishna had to come and kill Bomasur. So coming back to Brahma. Brahma also, he had this empowerment. And Lord Krishna is telling him, I'm giving you your causeless mercy always. So Lord Brahma is always going to have causeless mercy. I'm not quite sure about us. Because we may go up, we may go down. We are told that bhakti, a devotional service, is like a razor's edge. You know, if we are not careful, we can fall either way. That is our position in Kali Yuga and in this material world. So always vigilant in association, in bhakti. Our devotional service needs to continue no matter what. I was just told recently that I'm not fit to be a preacher and I shouldn't preach by my best friend. And then I had to think, okay, well, did I make a good choice in making a best friend out of her? I think I made a very bad choice. Because we need to be around not positive people, not negative people who will pull you down. Because they cannot understand the nature of your service. But at the same time, we can't hurt them. So you can only say, so much. Because of this preaching, I would say in the 20 years, sometimes I have said things that have clicked with people and they become initiated. So the service is not for me to take up a high position or anything like that. Nothing. It's not even a position. But it is meant for certain empowerment so that people get help. They can actually improve their life and become initiated. But then they also have 21 generations of their own. So whoever had heard whatever I had said was able to save 21 generations. So the nature of the service of preaching is very important. And this is what Lord Brahma is doing too. He is wanting to increase devotees. So Bomasur's association, my association, your association, we need to always be with people who are positive, who can help you grow. Who can help you grow. Who can help you develop. Who can help you do devotional service. So, where was that? So, in this service, Lord Brahma is wanting to increase his service, and Lord Krishna is helping him. Let's see now. With that, we can. I was coming to this point when Lord Krishna actually empowers you. He gives you the license. What is this movie that we see, James Bond? He gets the license to kill in that story. So Lord Brahma here has got the license to be the Prajapati. Now there is like I was talking about the Reza age, you can fall either way. Now Daksha, he's also a Prajapati. And it was his job to increase progeny, which he did. He produced 10,000 boys. He was very good at his job. But Narad Muni came and ruined it, because he was going to have 10,000 sons who were going to procreate. But what Narad Muni did, he came and preached to them, turned them into sannyasis. So he was very angry. So he produced next lot of boys, and Narad Muni came and did the same thing. So then Daksha cursed Narad Muni. You've got to be very careful with handling devotees. Narad Muni is a devotee. We should not offend devotees. We have to be very careful. Anyway, so this Daksha, in his position, he produced girls. And one of them was Uma, who happened to be the wife of Lord Shiva. And in his job, he actually disrespected Lord Shiva. Like I was saying, we have this service, license to serve. We've got to be very careful how we carry out our duties, and that we respect devotees. Because here in this case, Daksha had disrespected Lord Shiva, in that even lost his daughter. She committed suicide. Not only that, Lord Shiva produced this demon and who cut off Daksha's head, and he had to accept the head of a goat. And he had to sit in the yagna with a goat head, with a beard, and complete the yagna. And now he's got a head of a goat. So we have to be very careful how we preach, how we distribute books, cook for Krishna, how we deal with other devotees. In that regard, Lord Brahma also has got to be very careful. The license that we are given for devotional service, we have to be very careful. So we cannot misuse it. I mean, we get a license to drive a car, right? Recently I've been driving a car and I love it. Been missing driving a car for so long. But I can't overspeed. I can have my license removed. So we've got to make sure that what is the control around us. Follow the 4 regulative principles. Observe your sadhana, do your 16 rounds. Make sure that you do not, whatever you do not criticize devotees. Do not offend Vaishnavas. The first offense we are told, what's the first offense? On chanting. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicated their lives to preaching the holy names of the Lord. So in this regard, Gurudev gave us a nice story which I found really funny. His name was Ramachandra Puri. Do you know who he is in the Chaitanya Charimrita, the Chaitanya Bhagavata? He's the god brother of Ishwara Puri, right? Ishwara Puri is who's that? He's the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. So Ramachandra Puri, he used to blaspheme devotees in a very strange way. He used to go and serve them, have them eat prasad, eat more. And then he used to go around their back and say, oh, this person eats so much, that person eats so much. These are devotees. First he would make them eat, and then he would criticize them that you are eating too much. He saw some little ants in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's room, and he went and said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must be eating sweets. What kind of sannyasi are you? You are eating too much. You must be eating too much. That's why they're ants. So what did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? He just reduced his diet. Can you imagine? Feeding only Lord Krishna half stomach full. Weak feed Krishna. Whenever I cook, I empty the whole pot on his plate. You eat it all. If you don't eat it all, at least give it to your friends. That's how I think when I'm offering. So give it to all the gopas if you can't eat it. But I give him so much. And here Gopinath has a tendency to fatten up. Right? The Sydney deity is very special. My sisters love the photo that I had sent where Gopinath is round, and then in another one he is very thin. So she said, oh, somebody must have given him on his plate half full. But we are very lucky here that Gopinath picks up weight. When we feed him very well, he becomes round. It's happened. We've seen it, right? We've been here for so long. We've actually seen it. I've seen it. When I first came to this temple, Gopinath was very fat. And I was thinking, this deity looks so funny, different, you know. He doesn't look like a normal Krishna who's like slim built and nicely proportioned. He was fat, literally. His face was round. Radharani's face was round. They had double chin. They literally had double chin. It's not there anymore. Maybe they've just like decided to go on a diet and become fit again. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, coming back to that story, he reduced his diet. He reduced his diet. Anyway, after that, I believe Ramachandra Puri had decided to move away, and everybody was glad he's gone. So we have to be very careful in asking for service. And then once somebody is doing this service, we have to be very careful not to offend anyone. And in that event, because our services are linked, connected. Who is it connected to? It's connected to Lord Krishna himself. Because Gurudev had also said this one. He actually cracked a joke. He said, Ramachandra Puri, it's lucky they didn't have media, social media at that time, because it would be really dangerous. He would have collected these hate fans, and would really, you know. This is what happened to me, by the way. My best friend wrote on the internet that I'm not fit for a preacher, and decided to get this group to click like on it so that she could spread the hate. Spread the hate. Social media. She took to social media, and I said, if you have any issues, please come and handle it with me, because maybe somebody's initiation depends on what I say in class. So, you know. Anyway, then Gurudev also said some more. He said, unfortunately, we have a lot of Ramachandra Puris in ISKCON who love to criticize devotees. Unfortunately, we have. Their main business is to criticize. Main business is to criticize anyone and everyone. And this social media can be quite dangerous. Very dangerous. So we have to be very careful who you make best friends with. Stay with positive people. And another thing, this story, I think it was Srila Prabhupada's story. He talked about this animal skunk. Those people who are in America, they'll know. We don't have skunks here in Australia or New Zealand, Fiji. We don't know. I don't know about India. Do you have skunks there? If you're from India, I'm not sure. Don't know. No one's from India. I'm not from India. So this skunk, what they do, it's this a little animal. It's a protective device, so it's no offense to the skunk. But when it wants to protect itself, it lifts its tail and releases this pungent, smelly chemical, sprays it on you, and it smells for miles. Miles, and it takes 2 weeks to come out. It never comes out of your clothes, obviously. And if you happen to have it on your skin, it says 2 weeks to take it out. Even if you scrub yourself with laundry soap, it still won't come out. So you're going to go around smelling for 2 weeks. It smells so bad. Skunk. Spreads the smell. So we have certain people like that. So we've got to be very careful what they spread. So we can't say Haribol Skunk Prabhu or Skunk Mataji. We cannot say that. Nor can we say Haribol Ramachandra Prabhu, Puri Prabhu. However, we've got to be very careful, avoid such people, continue our service no matter what. And Lord Brahma, in this instance, is in a very humble position, discussing his service with Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna is empowering him. Lord Krishna being the powerhouse. And we as humble devotees or aspiring devotees, we are also connected to the powerhouse. Our actions are empowered by a higher power. We would not be here in this temple had it not been for the blessings of our spiritual master, of our mentors, of Srila Prabhupada, of Lord Krishna. It's like I said right in the beginning, it was Lord Krishna's desire that Brahma do the Prajapati work. So it is Lord Krishna's desire that you sit here and be a brahmachari, or you are a temple, what do you call it, a head pujari, or someone who is doing the sweeping, or somebody who's doing the pot washing, somebody who's doing the cooking. It is Gopinath's desire. That's why you're doing it. It's the powerhouse. You're connected with Gopinath. It's his desire. It's your desire also, but it is his desire too. So whenever we criticize devotees in their service, we have to understand you don't know what's in their heart. That particular devotee is serving from the heart, and Lord Krishna is in their heart, and they are in Lord Krishna's heart. There's a shlok, right, in the Bhagavad Gita, that Lord Krishna says, my devotee is in me and I'm in my devotees. That is the situation for those people who are serving Lord Krishna. You do not know what's in their heart. So I have to be very careful not to be Ramchandra Puri and not to be that skunk that we were talking about. And so, anyway, does anybody have any comments? We've reached the end of the class. Or any questions, any issues? Yes, Prabhuji. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. How to do it? Okay. Okay. Let me deliberate. Okay. So the question and the comment is that when we are asked to make ourselves or think of ourselves as lower than the street, very humble, all right? And that humble state, someone can take advantage of, and thinking that person to be very humble, exploit that person, maybe overload them with seva or service, or take advantage of them all the time. And how to deal with this? Now, in that regard, I'm going to give you that explanation that my own spiritual master had told us. He said, thinking of oneself lower than the straw in the street is only for Krishna, and we should not belittle ourselves. That is a difference between thinking of oneself as humble and belittling ourselves to the point that we get exploited. Because we have a right, everyone has a right to defend themselves. Everyone. Every single one. And in that regard, when we are defending ourselves, it doesn't make us any less humble or any more proud. Being humble is being helpful to a certain point. When we are being exploited or being overloaded or just taken advantage of, we have to say, look Prabhu or look Mataji, which is what I have just done in my case with my best friend. I said, I'm sorry, I can't bring you to temple in the mornings because that's my sadhana time, that's my time. I can't pick you up, I can't pick her up. If I pick her up, I'm going to spend half an hour picking them up. That's half an hour gone on my Mangalarti time. That means I have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to do these things. So, if it's your situation, you've got to be quite practical and say, look, I have done this, and this is like an overload. I can only manage this. And that is called a defense, but it's also called explaining to someone, quite frankly. And it is their job to understand it. So, in my case, I'm going to just talk about it because it applies to us today. I had explained this to my best friend, and she said, I don't want to know you. You've taken advantage of me, you're a user. And I said, look, then I actually explained, and I said, sorry. So it is our position to say sorry also. So I said, sorry, if I hurt you anyway, please, accept my apologies. I didn't mean to hurt you, but this is my situation. And they didn't respond. In fact, I was put on social media for not picking someone up for Mangalarti. I'm not a fit preacher. So, there are certain people, like I said, are negative people. And if that comes to that point, they don't listen to reason, you got to remove yourself from them. Now, you may not always be in a position to remove yourself from them physically. You might be living in the same house. So, you just got to draw the boundaries somehow. You got to put your foot down. And I remember something that my spiritual master told me right in the beginning. I had that problem because I'm a girl, and an Indian girl, and I've been brought up in an Indian family. My father and my mother brought me up like an Indian girl who's meant to say yes and no according to the parents. And we are trained to obey and serve. That's how I was brought up. So in other words, I did not know how to say no. I did not know how to say no. I think it still applies to me today because it's quite built in. It doesn't really go away. Like sometimes I find it difficult to say no. So Gurudev had told me right in the beginning, he said, you've got to learn how to say no. Why? Because I was having problems and issues at work. I couldn't say no to my boss. They were overloading me with work and I couldn't say no. I had to stay, late at work and at the expense of my own health, my own time. And I had to forego a lot of, I wanted to attend home programs. At that time I was learning to be a devotee. I had to, so in the end I had to put my foot down and say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. You just have to say no. That doesn't make you any less humble. In fact, that means you're looking after yourself and empowering yourself to do service properly. You might, if you're doing too many services or too many things, you will compromise the quality of the service too. You'll cut corners, you'll make mistakes, you might not follow all the proper rituals, you might not even do it cleanly, we're supposed to be suchi all the time. So you are compromising certain services. So you've got to say no in order to have quality service and quality time. Every person deserves that respect. Every person deserves to look after themselves so that they are recharged in order to do their services properly. That brings me to another point. Sometimes I've been in an ashram situation too. I've been outside. It's a grihastha ashram in a brahmacharini. I've done it all. Sometimes Mangalarti, you've got to wake up. You've got to wake up. Do it on time. You are lazy. Not that I've been told like that, but not in so many words, but they can say that. So in that regard, Gurudev had said, if you need 8 hours sleep, you sleep. Because that is your health. Even in today's Ekadashi, there are many people suffering from certain medical conditions, and they cannot observe Ekadashi. And because Gurudev was in this movement for so long, he has said he's observed these kind of practices that devotees have done, and in the long run they've had kidney problems because they've deprived of water. They have these health conditions. So you've got to look out for number one, yourself. That doesn't make you any less humble. It just makes you look after yourself. Just makes you practical. It makes you do your services properly without compromise, and it also gives you the confidence to say no, which we overlook a lot of times. We cannot say no. I let people use me left, right and center because I go out of my way. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. So it was a learning curve for me. It took me years. I used to do that too. I used to say yes Prabhu, yes Mataji a lot. It took a lot out of me, and I missed out on certain important things which I could have done instead. So, does that help? Does anybody else have any other comments? Yes. Yes. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. In order to protect your service, you have to say no. That is a very good point. Very good point. And in fact, it happened this morning. Somebody does regular service this morning. Somebody tried to take that regular service from them, and she came and said, but in all honesty, it was very good on both their parts, because both of them came and consulted me. The one who took the service and the one whose service was being taken, they both came and consulted me. And I said to the person who wanted to do the service, not their regular service, I said, this person does this regular service, and it will break their heart. You might think that they are doing every day, so you should get a chance. But you are taking a certain service that they do regularly. So please don't take their regular service. Unless they agree to give it to you. Please don't do that. So I said, I don't know how you feel, and I'm not an authority in this temple, but this is my feeling, that if someone is doing a regular service, please don't barge in and force them to leave that service for you. Just because you don't do this service at all, it doesn't mean that they're prepared to give the service to you. It's their regular service, it's their regular bhakti for Krishna. You cannot, just take it. So I said that, and she understood and she took it on board. That was very brilliant of her, because that shows the understanding and compassion, that understanding reason, unlike my friend who did not understand my reason. So then the other person who's regular service, that person came and said, did you explain this? Because I was given my service back. And I said, yes, I did. So they both thanked me, but you gotta be very careful. It just happened now, this like half an hour ago, 1 hour ago. So both their parts, they were very good devotees, they understood each other. And this is the beauty of a Krishna conscious movement, is when someone gives you these directions, we have the ability to understand both angles. Because we've been practicing sadhana and we've been practicing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we've been speaking it. It purifies our heart, it gives us that understanding and that mellowness, that softness. You can understand both sides of the story and agree. So that was a very happy solution for both of them. So sometimes we can come up with that also. Anything else? No? Yes? Okay. Thank you for listening. Srimad Bhagavatam Puran ki jai.